Hello, welcome to the Chinese Moms in Business Club's Queen's Bee series. My name is Sally Yi, one of the founders of the club, and I'm also an MD of 11K Consulting, which is a China luxury PR agency. And today I have two amazing ladies with me. One is my co-founder, Xiaofeng Sutton, and the other is my very, very special guest, Carrie. I will let Xiaofeng to introduce Carrie in a bit while. For those who have not joined our Queen Bee series before, may I briefly introduce what it is all about? We started it during COVID last year because we want to stay connected and to stay empowering you, our audience, to fulfill your full potential through being inspired by other people's story. And therefore, we have our special guest in each series. And this time we come to our 10th series, which is a big milestone for us. So our club is all about getting together, learning from each other, and sharing inspiring stories. So I hope that you will get inspired by our speaker today, and I'm sure you will. So without further ado, I would love to invite Xiaofeng to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. And hello, everyone. My name is Xiaofeng Sutton. I'm one of the co-founders of the club, and I'm also the CEO of Alice in Legal. So I'm very excited today to share today's interview with everyone because today's guest, Carrie Waley, has a special place in my heart. Back in 2009, when I was a young lost Chinese graduate in London, it's Carrie and her company actually helped me to place an internship and eventually found a full-time job at London Chamber of Commerce. I remember one thing Carrie told me during that time is being a Chinese is actually an advantage rather than disadvantage. And that has stayed with me since. And I have to say that one sentence totally changed my mindset and changed my outlook towards the world, at least in London during that time when I was looking for a job, and definitely changed my confidence. Everything after that is all history. So I'm, one of our sole mission of Chinese Mom in Business Club is to inspire all of us to reach our true potential. And I really think today's interview with Carrie will not disappoint us. So Carrie, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Xiaofeng. Thank you, Sally. Do I need to introduce myself, or you have done it already? Should I introduce myself as well?
Yes, feel free. Right. Yes, please do.
So I'm Carrie Waley. I'm the CEO of Mandarin Consulting. We have we provide a one-to-one career coaching for young, ambitious Chinese mainly, but Asian as well. Many of them are Asian, to really embark and progress in their global careers. And of course, Xiaofeng, as I say, we have such long history. Xiaofeng is one of our, we call candidates who have done really well for herself. And when Xiaofeng saying, when you said that I said to you, you remember that. I'm sure I also said something else, which is hopefully you also remembered. Because not just being Chinese that is advantage. I think being a woman is also a huge advantage, in my opinion. Now, hopefully today by talking with us, and I can tell you how much that we have in our lives, that as a woman, as a Chinese, as Asian, as a person, actually, fundamentally. Hopefully I can offer something to share.
Definitely. In that case, let's dive into the first question, Carrie. And I personally know very well, I know you actually have been a stay-at-home mom for almost 15 years before you actually set up your current company, Mandarin Consulting, obviously, which is growing enormously, in a very fast pace. And I know you told me, being a mom, stay-at-home mom, the skills is actually interchanging with running a company. And so what skills actually you have learned from being a mom, which have helped you run your current business?
Yes, I think first I want to remind all the mothers that you have to understand life is an evolving thing. So we have to understand that first. So I love my job before I became a mother. And I have to be very honest with all of you. I never intended to be a full-time mother because I actually didn't even like children before I had them. Now, some of you probably realize that can be quite true.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with my daughter about 2 minutes after she was born. So I kind of changed my mind to such an extent that the helper I had hired, the nanny, to look after her, she was so fed up with me, she actually quit after 6 months because I started delegating only very boring jobs for her. I start hogging my baby, my new career, my new boy, basically. So because of that, as I said, I never actually felt that motherhood was any different in some ways as when I was working. The reason being, if you look at it this way, leadership, you actually need to be a good leader when you become a young mother, because your child is a person totally depending on you. If you're not a good leader, how can you lead a baby, right? So that's a leadership skill. Of course, this topic, by the way, I've only been given half an hour. I can talk forever, but let's just be brief, just give you some ideas. Teamwork, right? Your husband is your partner, right? You got to run it together. Now, if you've got a few helpers along the way, we used something called au pairs as well. After the nanny, the full-time nanny, which I recruited to look after my baby, quit. Of course, there's no need for full-time, so I had part-time. But these part-time people, you have to work as a team. So you got to really exercise teamwork in the family environment. Now, by the way, these skills I was all transferable and competencies that you need to develop as a career. So just hear me out, right? Communication skills. We always talk about communication skills. Children really train you. A very important communication skill is called empathy. Because a baby never can tell you what they want. You have to keep listening, observing, and any of you, have any career, realize how important of observing and listening others, right? And then you have to be able to communicate with all these people, your husband, which is usually a new husband when you have a young baby, and that is a quite hard work, can be. So we all know that. Problem-solving skills. Gosh, if you've ever been a mother, you will know it's actually harder than working. I can tell you. I seriously think that running a company is easier than running a family, because the thing about problem-solving skill is very interesting. A baby is just like any business projects. You are never really on top of it because you can't. They keep growing. Right? You all know, oh gosh, there's a baby. Oh God, thank God I know how to feed a baby now. I know how to change the nappies. Next thing is, oh my God, they're crying. Why? Oh my God, teeth is coming. What happened when teeth coming? Then give you a challenge. And then 1-year-old, 2-year-old, you think, I know how to run babies. And now they grow into teenagers soon. It's a totally different ballgame. So that really is good training for running business, because the business is exactly the same. No business stands still, everything moving, changing. So that is good problem-solving skill. And then the usual, the resilience, the never give up, and organization skill is another one. You have to be juggling so much, they are pulling you all directions, testing you of any skills you have. I have to say, I always enjoy to do everything best possible way. So you can imagine I was in my element because it just gave me endless challenges, and I love doing them. They're so new. And by the way, for example, I was a PR before I mainly. Then you have to organize children's parties, endless of them. Yeah, dinner parties, entertainment, birthdays, and holiday. Christmas and Easter. This all just, I think, is a lot of organization skills. Budgeting, we all know, right?
So important.
Need to budget, right? You suddenly have to plan the clothes, the food, the holidays, the house, the car. My God. Again, you don't know what, I hate that part, I have to say, because even now I really dedicate people who know, the finance people. I'm not really finance people, but I still have to make ends meet, right? So running a business, and the last one, I think is a very important one. If you run your own, if you become a really successful leader, you need a vision. And as a mother, as a family, you're the co-head, if you know. You, I don't know who you marry, who are you with. They may not be very visionary. So ended up, you have to provide that vision for your family, for your, you all heard about, matriarch, ended up, you can be that person. And it's great fun, bringing up the children, what sort of family you want to run is all part of it. So if you think about it, every skills I talk about just now can all be used in your future career, the rest of your life. So it's a very character building.
Fantastic. I have to say, Carrie is really brilliantly compared the organization chart for a company with the household. Indeed, I have to say it is perfectly described. All the skill you need as being a leader, working in an organization or running your own business. So I'll let Sally ask the second question, please. Sally.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Carrie. Very intriguing and inspiring for all the moms not to disregard our own skills in a business environment. The second question is relating to your business. I know that you have been helping a lot of young Chinese students and elders by making them to realize that being a Chinese is actually an advantage in their career progression. So I would love to hear from you directly in what ways that being a Chinese is an advantage in the business world, especially recently there have been so many hatreds against Asians and Chinese. Yes, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
First of all, I will touch a bit about hatred towards Asians. I personally have not experienced any hatred. I think if you move in the right circle, there's no hatred. There's only appreciation. So one has to understand where you need to avoid, what situation, what kind of people. Now the hatred is something that you can control. What I mean is something wrong with other people. So what is wrong with other people? Now, if we look at it in the UK, usually something to do with if they're the better educated they are, I would say the more culturally open they are. So if you think about hatred, it comes from people actually just naive and ignorant. So if you understand that, I think you don't feel victimized. I am certainly nothing to me is a victim. So comes to the Chinese that I would say, because if you are Chinese living in the UK or anywhere else in the world, you actually have something other people do not have, which is you cross a culture, right? Once. So the cross-cultural understanding you have can be very useful in your career. So that is the advantage. Then you can bring that to such a different perspective. You bring in different perspective in the discussions, and the fact that you have the chance to see another culture, I think everybody should appreciate that, So that is one thing. And China, you see, being Chinese, myself, and it's over the years, I do think the interest on China has been growing all the time. So people do want to know about China. To this day, that China, although has been quite controversial recently, probably continue to be so, but I think there's a way that it just challenges us to be able to see things from different point of view, and then how to really bring, by being Chinese, you obviously need to make the effort to really understand Chinese culture and Chinese situation, Chinese government, Chinese everything about Chinese. And then you also need to know your audience, who you are talking with, that where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that if you can do that, you will be hugely appreciated in another culture, being a Chinese, right? And once you also cross the cultural once successfully, you can cross many cultures because the skill is exactly the same. So if we realize that, I think being a Chinese is actually can be very empowering. So you know you have more skills than other people already, naturally. So I think knowing that skill and how to overcome certain, I think there's the thing is, life, I suppose I'm old enough to live quite a different, many decades, and every decade is different. I would say there's no decade has been a perfect decade. There's no year has been a perfect year. But they also, everything we do, there are opportunities and there are challenges. So if we look at it that way, I think we will be able to utilize everything as our strength.
I really like that. I think different perspective. I think potentially, Carrie, you were saying about really to get to know everything about China. I think that's one of the things I learned over the years. I used to, when I came here, when I started in the business, I used to say, okay, Chinese clients was a little bit tricky. So I'm trying to avoid it. And I realized that's actually, avoidance is not the way to go for. It's actually to observe and really understand it, and then build the relationship. And then in that point, and actually you felt like, okay, being a Chinese, that culture, and then to merge these two cultures together, you becoming the bridge, is actually a very rewarding position to be. Fantastic, cool. Carrie, so the next question is about your leadership style, and so really wanted to know about that, and particularly it has been very different 1.5 years for the whole world in the pandemic, and then really wanted to know, how you actually helped your team to stay together, stay strong during this pandemic.
Right. Yes. Now, if you look at, it's very difficult to put yourself in the pigeonhole of leadership style. When I look at leadership style, if anybody actually studied leadership style, probably knows something called transformational leadership style. So I think I'm more that way when looking at myself, because sometimes, first of all, I want people to realize that you need to understand you to be able to. So don't choose a style. I think first understand you, and you will be, I think everybody potentially can be a good leader. So I think first know you first. So don't choose a style because that can be quite confusing. That may not suit you. So even because your question come this way, I felt obliged to sort of get myself up, because I don't like to say a style. This is just Carrie's style, whatever that is, But I would say, I set the vision for the company. I explain my vision to the team, and they obviously the ones who want to follow me will work for the company. They don't want to follow me, they go. That's it's really that very simple. The basic principle. I lead from the front, I would say, because I first and foremost I'm a thinker and doer. I enjoy doing things, which is actually something I have to modify. Sometimes I do too much. But I do set good example for my staff who actually see my enthusiasm, see my passion, and that can be quite, infectious. And everybody also know I have very, very high standards. But I don't just set standards for other people. They see how I will not give up getting things really, really to that excellent standard, because I enjoy doing that. I told you already, even being a mother, children do just grow up, right? You can't actually stop them growing up. But I have my, way of what sort of children I want them to be, what sort of mother I want to be, more importantly. So I think that also helps. I'm very straightforward, I have to say. That's my stuff. And everybody have to come. In fact, most of the people come into me at the interview, even if it's a management team. I have to tell them I am, I don't know what you think of Chinese, because I can't change my look. People expect, people see a Chinese person, they expect certain things. I say, you should have no expectation, because I'm going to, not behave exactly, anything like what you expected. So we better just got to know me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very straightforward. My staff trusts me and my conviction for what I do. I think it's very important. Certainly for me, this business, just like a baby and everything, I can give, my life to what I do, because that's just me, by the way. You don't have to do it that way, right? They know I have full confidence in what I do and where the company's going. I think that confidence I like to, it's again coming from leading from the front, I suppose.
Yeah. But definitely, I think you are truly visionary. I mean, with Mandarin Consulting, which is back in 2008, 2007, you were started, that's really one of the kind.
So we're still one of the kind, even more so, Xiaofang, when I have a chance to talk to you. It's very interesting. Yes.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, very inspiring. You must be the pioneer in your industry and keep going for more than 10 years. So you must an amazing leader, even though I just know you today. Thank you, Carrie. The next question is about your motherhood. I have two young boys who are only 2 and 5, so I want to really get your advice and learn from you. So I know you have two daughters, and they are all grown up now. One is a qualified lawyer, and one is a doctor. So for many
surgeons,
yes, very important. So for many years, you have been very successful in being a mother as well as a businesswoman. So I want to know, what piece of advice would you give to a Chinese woman who want to succeed in both business and family life as well?
Yes, I mean, this is very personal, of course. I think first, very, very important, you have to not set limits to yourself. So first of all, you have to believe and want it. Say, anything I want, I can get. And I am very fortunate, looking back. I think I have a very good father, and who really never treat me, even in that generation, never treat me like a woman. He really treated me and my two brothers exactly the same, I think, gave me just as good an education. I'm probably a very stubborn person, even at birth, nobody can stop me anyway. But then, so self-belief is very important. Yeah. You got to want it. And you got to think that you deserve anything other people have. That's first and foremost. So then make the most of what you have. You see, life, it's everything. You can be organized, arranged. So who is going to say that you have a career, then you can't be a mother, right? So you shouldn't accept that. You say, that's nonsense. Let me prove you. In fact, that's always seemed to be me. If the moment you tell me I can't do anything, I'm going to prove you wrong, right? So we can prove them wrong. I prove many people wrong, even my mother. I sometimes look at me and say, I don't even think you're the daughter that I gave birth with, because I was so quiet. I never want to say anything. Now, when I could tell people, I was so shy as a young girl. But anyway, I don't know why I think, there's a reason. But then think about, as I say, bringing up children is such a great opportunity to experience life. It's just another way of knowing yourself, learning what you can do. So when you don't set limits, it's everything can be achieved. So don't actually think that this task is impossible. Nothing is impossible. There are plenty of, if you look at many business female business leaders, I mean, very, very successful. people. They also have children. Many of them do, right? And their children do well. So if other people can do, if you have a bit of a self-doubt, and look at others. So why do you not look at the ones who can do it, right? And me as well, as you can, why do you actually look at the ones who are complaining? Now, I have to say, talking about complaining, walk away from anybody complain a lot from your life. Walk away, okay? Do try to help them, see whether you can. If they can't be helped, you got to walk away. Because what I'm trying to say is that everything is possible. For some people, they almost decide to be. Everything is not possible. So is you can be in control of what you can have. So don't let other people tell you what you can have. So for me, I seriously think that bringing up, being a mother, nurturing children, I love what they are. I don't think I'm a perfect mother, by the way. Even you can ask my daughters. I'm sure they will say, Mum, such a, I don't know, so and so. But I do have a loving relationship with them, and I enjoy seeing their development. But it's more about self-belief, I mean, and also I do think in career-wise, like anything in life, you have to make a lot of decisions. So what I mean is that you have to think at any given time, what is the best balance for you? So if a job you're doing that is not suitable to be, and children will grow up, right?
Yeah.
And the job, so no, don't be in a rush. We're going to live forever. I never want to be retired. So I think, gosh, you can think about it. So really, the strategy is about how to be sustainable. So you don't need to burn yourself out. Why? Life is not about burning yourself out. It's about who can last and also be successful step by step. I would say the life's winners. So that is what I mean. So you may quit a job because that job is not suitable for you. And there are many companies are very, very flexible as well. They will allow you to have a family and continue the job. So there are a lot of choices out there.
I never believe you are a very shy girl, Carrie, because you're very, you're like a rain of golden sunshine, and whenever you walk into the room. But I'm so glad you are who you are now, because very inspiring. And then really continue to the motherhood question, like what you were saying, each stage with motherhood is different, with career is different. And then actually a lot of our members and audience are moms, which is with young children, toddler like Sally and me. And we do find very struggle. We do find very challenging with young children at the same time, managing a team and sometimes just, like often people say, oh, you will miss it. And from you, what do you think you miss the most being a mom with young children? So make us feel like, oh, we got to cherish that.
Yes, it's funny that you gave me that question, and I have to think. So I did think that many things. So what do I miss? Because I'm just somebody always live in the present and the future. I actually don't look back very often. So I have to say a lot of things I have to. I have to say that's a really period of a really fond memory of my life. But it's interesting, sometimes you only remember the good things. I'm sure there were times I felt like killing them. But I miss that closeness with my daughters, that mother and children, because the mothers are really so important to children, isn't it? Looking back, I think I really enjoy that closeness because because they're totally dependent on you, So enjoy that. I think it's really and also I miss the excitement from seeing new things through children's eyes. We grow up and sometimes you take things for granted very easily, but taking my daughters to the first time to the theater, to the a Chinese circus, and there was once, and all these experiences, holidays and a lot of things, I wouldn't be that excited if I didn't seeing the children. So enjoying my childhood almost again. And that's really, I think, is really very interesting. And again, witnessing their growth, it's just like a project, really. It's just fascinating. It's really, but then it's human. I think a human being is the most complex project you can ever have. So that, for me, it creates endless fascination. You know, I do think it's a very life-enriching experience. Yeah, just funny things they say, they do, I still remember. You know, it's interesting how much impact it has. When I dream about my children, they are never grown up. They always remain to be, what Sally, you're saying, a 2-year-old, 5-year-old. They never grow up. So must be that period of them stay to my mind strongest. It's interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
There's so much to miss.
Well, we must remember that there's a lot we will miss, so we better actually enjoy it now, all the young moms out there who are actually watching the interview. But I have to say, one of the things which Carrie saying is, I think, you know, Carrie, you have so much curiosity about life. I think you were talking about project and everything. You're just so open mandate with anything. You don't see it as you know, you love challenge, but I think that's curiosity. You wanted to know more, and so that's actually, I think, is what one of the main thing I take away is really just the curiosity bring to everything with your children, with the business. So I really enjoy that. So Sally, I'll let you to round it up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Carrie. Personally, I just want to also summarize a few things I take away from you from this session. Starting with you, because you are the only person in control. Self-confidence and self-belief. Without that, you cannot run a business. You cannot run a family. And I think the last thing is really like what you said, enjoy the moment. It doesn't happen the next day, the next year. So enjoy it while you can. So I really appreciate all your wisdom with us today. On that note, I'm afraid that our time is running out. If you have more questions for Carrie, please do feel free to contact us. And if you like this interview, please do share it with your networks. We will have more amazing speakers coming up. So do follow us on LinkedIn, the Chinese Moms in Business Club. And thank you again for Carrie for all your insights and heartfelt sharing today. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Xiaofang.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.